Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today's look is this yellow orange look I did using the Norvina Volume 3 palette. I did this as a voiceover because I was actually listening to music while I filmed this. And if you want to see how I recreated this look, then please keep on watching. So I started the look by filling in my eyebrows, which I did not film because I used a stencil and it was very hard. The stencil is by Anastasia Beverly Hills, and the one I used was the Slim High Arch. So once I filled in my eyebrows, I wanted to do something I don't usually do because they looked a little funny. And I took an e.l.f. concealer and I carved out my eyebrows, which I never really do. I used to do this in college and I don't anymore. I think it's a little excessive, but I really love the way that it turned out. And you'll see me spread this out very, very thin. I didn't want globs around my eyebrows. So I'm going to spread this out and move on to my eyes after that. I'm going to fast forward this footage because I don't want the whole video to be focused on my eyebrows. But I went over it with a beauty blender. I cleaned up any edges and then I filled in any spots that I missed with an eyebrow pencil by Anastasia. So that's what I did for the eyebrows. So I was having a bad makeup day today. Here you're going to see me apply the Anastasia Beverly Hills eye primer, and I applied way too much. So I tapped some of it off with my finger as well as wiped off the brush, but I used way too much. So don't do this. Don't use this much. Use a normal amount. So jumping into the palette, I'm going to take that bottom yellow shade first out of the Anastasia Norvina Volume 3 palette, and I'm going to apply that in my crease. I started off using a Jeffree Star brush, but then I realized it was way too big and fluffy, so I switched to a smaller, denser blending brush, and then that's what I use to blend out the eyeshadow in my crease. Next, I'm taking the second eyeshadow, which is a bright orange in the top row, and I'm going to apply that to the outer corner. As I'm applying this, you'll see that this color, along with the yellow one, will fade into nothing. And as I'm blending these two together, it gets kind of muddy, which I'm using clean brushes, so I was actually shocked that this happened. So I started to blend it using the brush that I applied the yellow eyeshadow with, and it kind of faded off. So I'm reapplying the orange, and then you'll see me continue to blend and add more color. Then I'm going to take a small pointed crease brush by Makeup Geek, and I'm applying this darker brown shade that's in the middle of the palette to the outer corner. I wanted to darken it up just the tiniest bit, but I didn't want it to be too overwhelming or too dark. This really didn't do anything because this shade is going to completely fade off into nothing. So I blended the yellow just a little bit too high. It was almost touching my eyebrow. So I took a Q-tip and cleaned up any yellow that I blended too low or too much into my eyebrow. And then here I'm going back in with the yellow just because it got a little bit too orange and the yellow lost its vibrancy. I wanted the focus of this look to be the bright yellow in the liner, so I'm taking a shimmery peachy shade in the palette. It shows up like a yellow peach on your eye, but then it fades throughout the day so that shimmer will lose its vibrancy. And I wanted something light that wasn't going to overwhelm the liner. So I'm applying that to my lid, and then I'm going to blend it into those orangey tones that I applied in my outer corner. So off camera, I used my face halo to clean up any makeup fallout, and then I'm taking Brulee by Wet n Wild and applying that under my brows as well as blending out the edges of the eyeshadow. Next, I took a dark brown in the palette that has a warm undertone, and I used that to carve out just a wing. At first, I was going to leave this, but then I decided that I wanted to do black liner, so I just traced over it. And this is a great tip if you're not comfortable with liner, is to use a gray or black eyeshadow and shape it out first, and then go over it with your liner to make sure that they're even. Now I had a little bit of fallout, so I'm wiping that away. And then I am going to prime my face. So while my primer is soaking into my skin, I went over that eyeshadow liner that I created, and I went over it with the Anastasia Beverly Hills liquid liner. I'm going to try to edit out the parts that I go out of frame. I'm still learning how to do liquid eyeliner with contacts, and I'm still not used to this like felt tip brush. I really like a brush tip, so I'm still trying to learn how to use this. So I created my wings, and then I tried to make them thicker. And then you'll see me waving my hands because I like to fan this dry. And the reason is because it's so wet. And I blinked and it transferred, and you'll see that in another clip, and I have to clean it up, and it's really annoying. So I hate this liner because 1, it transfers, 2, it takes forever to dry, and 3, it's hard to use. But then it transferred to my lid, so I tried to do what I do with dry mascara and wipe it off with Q-tip that you roll once it's dry, and that didn't work so hot. So then I went over it with my yellow eyeshadow again. Then I applied the Better Than Sex mascara, and this is a great clip that you can see that orange and brown I applied earlier have faded into nothing. The shimmer has lost its shine, and that yellow is actually going to lose vibrancy throughout the video and in real life. So remember how I said I was having a bad makeup day? Well, I definitely way over bronzed and way over contoured. And you'll see that as this clip goes on because I applied way too much product, and I'm going to apply way too much contour, and I'm going to have a bronze helmet at the end of this, but I was feeling myself. So I didn't know I was going to do this, so I didn't film it, but I took the lightest cream shade in that Anastasia Beverly Hills contour kit, and I applied it in between my contour and on my cheekbones and down my nose, and then I took the peach shade next to it and applied it under my eyes, and this worked amazing as a color corrector, even more so than my actual color correctors. Remember how I said I had a bad makeup day? Well, my foundation apparently had unscrewed and got foundation everywhere, so yeah. So I'm using the e.l.f. Flawless Finish foundation, I think that's what it's called. And this shade I have is really yellow and I am neutral toned. So I really wanted to play up the yellow warm toned vibes based off the eyeshadow I was using. So all the contour, bronzer, everything I'm using today on my face is going to be warm tone based. So I don't know if you know what I did, but I covered everything up that was cream with foundation. And this is something I've seen Scott Barnes do, but I haven't quite mastered the technique yet. But what I do is when I do this to avoid becoming orange because I'm so pale, I wipe off the brush in between half of my face on a towel on my desk, and then I go over it with the Beauty Blender. So after foundation, I'm going back in with that original e.l.f. Camo Concealer that is yellow based as well, and applying that under my eyes. In one of my new favorite products, I am going to take the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder in Dim Light and apply that underneath my eyes to set that concealer. And then I'm going to take whatever's left on the brush and just pat it all over my face. And this might be a little unnecessary, but with liquid foundation, I have to set it or it will transfer. So I'm taking a little sponge that is disposable, and I am taking the Jeffree Star translucent powder and applying that all over my face very lightly just to set everything. And I do have dry skin, so I do take a powder brush and wipe away excess powder once I apply it. So for this look, I wanted it to be very dramatic. I applied foundation and powder. Now I'm going to take contour powder and apply that on top. Next, I'm going to take the Milani Luminoso blush and apply that to the higher parts of my cheeks because that is what flatters my face shape. And this just gives your skin the most beautiful glow. And then for highlighter, I'm taking Siberian Gold, which I almost never use. And I'm going to apply this where the light hits my face. And I'm going to do so kind of lightly and emphasizing my cheekbones the most. Then jumping back to the eyes, I'm going to take this ColourPop Nude Gel Liner and apply that to my waterline. I then applied mascara to my bottom lashes only. This really opens my eyes and I think it looks great with this look. And then once my face is done, I always go to lashes, so I'm figuring out how much I need to trim them, and then I am applying the Ardell 110 natural lashes, and these are my favorite for every day because I can wear them with my glasses on and they don't flip up when I blink, and that's really important to me. But they also just make my eyelashes so long and sexy. But Skin Frost wasn't cutting it for how dramatic I wanted, so I took my ring finger and very lightly applied Supreme Frost and Wet Dream just to my cheekbones, and then a little bit above my eyebrows and in my Cupid's bow. And I did so very sparingly because I didn't want to look like a giant glittery disco ball. Then I am setting my face with a natural setting spray by Wet n Wild. Then I'm going to try to decide on a lip color, so I hold up Gemini, Leo, the Mystery Shade, and Fully Nude. And I ended up going for Fully Nude because I used the Mystery Shade in my last spring makeup tutorial. I don't know why, but I don't like applying setting spray over my liquid lipstick, so I do that last. And then I take my hair down and brush my hair, and then that's the finished look. And I ended up loving the way this turned out, but the yellow faded throughout the day along with the rest of the shadows. And for me, this is my second time using this palette, and it really just wasn't worth the $60 price tag. Thank you again for watching this video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel for future content. If you liked this video, please give this video a thumbs up so that I know to make more content like this.